why hasn't some of that happened? That would be my next question for the Chicago White Sox.
Russ, who anointed Tim Anderson the leader? Was it just by default? Because he doesn't have a track record of really being that guy from people that have said anything about it. He hasn't been the guy that kind of stands up and says, I mean, he does say things, but, you know, not like guys were like, yeah, let's get behind Tim, right? I mean, I'm not there every day. You're there more than I am. I'm just, you know, a fan and watch every game. And unfortunately, I was watching the game when it happened, and I was texting you as one of those people being like, what is your guy doing at second base? But who anointed him? Because Jose Abreu, every person you talked to, Jose Abreu was the guy that kept everybody accountable. And he had kind of his side of the locker room, and then the other side was kind of the other guys. So he kept his group accountable, and then the other guys were, I think, I don't know if it was Hendricks or Lynn or Giolito or whoever it was, kind of had the other side of the locker room. And what like, again, it goes back to me, like, you can't just be anointed a leader. You have to actually be the guy to take over. And for me, I think the most disappointing part of this is this happened 2 days ago. We haven't heard a peep out of Tim Anderson. Now, listen, someone that's been through this. Now, I've been through this. I've been in the Tim Anderson. I didn't have it exactly go the same way as Tim Anderson's went, but that's a whole different thing. But you got to say something. You got to answer the questions. Give your side of the story. Jose Ramirez stood up and said it. Tito Francona said it. Pedro Gafol's like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, talk about it. I want to know. Tim Anderson, I want to know why you're not playing on Sunday. Are you scheduled day off? Like, I remember when my Michael Barrett thing happened. Guess who? Ozzie Guillen wasn't getting me out of the lineup on the next day. Listen, I'm playing, you mother effer. Like, I'm out there. Like, if we're going to fight again, we're going to fight again. But I'm playing. And we almost did fight the next day, right? But I was like, I'm playing. You're not keeping me off the field the next day. So I think that the thing is that the Keenan Middleton thing just kind of goes on top of it and says, you know, they preach accountability. They preach accountability. And listen, I'm a employee of the team, you know, to help, you know, fan ambassador, right? And I obviously love the White Sox. I know Pedro. I know all these people involved in this. But my question is where's the accountability? How is Tim Anderson not there after the game to talk? How is he not there on Sunday when they have another game and not say anything? He's just gone? Like, that's, for me as a fan and as someone that's been through this, like, say something.
Yeah, I think to answer that second part about the accountability, yeah, you want to hear Pedro Gaffol say something more than I'm not going to talk about it, because the entire baseball world saw what happened. And it doesn't help when you have Jose Ramirez talk about it, you have Terry Francona talk about it, and for Pedro Gaffol, like, I can understand you wanting to defend your player. That's what you want. But at the same time, to be able to explain what happened there, and then to not have a guy who was one of the main characters in that event speak on that, it's a really big deal. It's a really big deal. And then to the first part of your question about who anointed Anderson, I don't think there was any one person that anointed him. I think without having Jose Abreu in that room, you're trying to go off the checklist of, right, who can be the next person that has been there in that organization for a long time that can lead this next group. And I think a lot of people looked at Tim Anderson and looked at Lucas Giolito because those were the guys that had been there for a while. And so I don't think there was one like, hey, Tim, you're the leader of this team now. But I think a lot of people expected, because he was the guy that had been on that team the longest. He kind of, gotten to this point where he was growing in his, brand in the game. And so that would be the next guy. But clearly there was no one guy take on that role and those responsibilities.
All right. So notwithstanding the fight, but just more Keenan's words, who do you think is the one that's going to take the fall for this, the blame for this, whether it's, not saying it's Keenan's fault, the player's fault, somebody, words this strong, somebody has to take the fall for this. And is it going up the poll as high as the GM? Is it a president thing? Is it a ownership and just nothing happens thing?
I have a hard time believing that something's going to happen, like somebody gets fired or something like that. Because like we talked about a couple of weeks ago when it came to the White Sox. I just don't until we've seen that, which we haven't. That's not something they do as an organization. I don't believe that they're just going to fire somebody over this. You're not going to fire your first-year manager over this. But I would be shocked if conversations are happening behind the scenes like, hey, we have a clear culture problem here. And we can't succeed as an organization if we don't figure a lot of these things out. I think that is something that you could definitely say is going to happen. Like there has to be comments or conversations today because the world, the baseball world as a whole is seeing your business out in the streets. And I know we're probably going to hear from Major League today about that when reporters meet with them, but like this is something that is going to be a stain on the White Sox season that already had its fair share of stains. And so where do the White Sox go from here? That's a question that they have to answer. But having a culture that for this, whatever next era of White Sox baseball is, whether you're in a rebuild or you're trying to compete, this is to get figured out.
Russ, appreciate the time, dude. Great to catch up. Obviously, too bad there was just nothing going on this weekend. Sucks.
Russ and I could talk about this for like 2 hours.
Well, good news. We're going to keep talking about it.
Yeah, there's a lot we could dig into on this.
Guess what? Next segment, all about it. Okay?
Okay.
All right, Russ, we'll talk to you later in the week.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Yep, you got it, bud. All right, so let's really dive into this. When we swing back, we will get to everything that went down between TA and José Ramírez, and then let's rehash the Middleton comments for a little pop-off action. White Sox, Guardians, all-out player perspective next on FT. Dallas Keuchel's back, which is cool. I love that stuff, right? Like, sometimes those guys, they struggle at the end of their career, and then they just kind of fizzle out. They don't get to say the goodbye. And Jonesy, it's almost like he went to Jared, those commercials. He went to Driveline, and they switched up what he was doing, and he's throwing harder. And we get to see him now in the bigs. He was crushing it in AAA.
Throwing harder? Oh, man, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I love Keuchel, and he's throwing harder. I got to see this. I'm excited to see this, to see some 90s on the radar gun from him.
Yeah, and he's chasing that 10-year mark, too, for service time. You guys know what that's about.
Once after that, it was, I'm out.
I'm a pension. Yep, that's it. But imagine, like, you're pretty close to that mark, right? And some people don't realize some of these things that go on, whether you call it behind the scenes or not. But like you guys know, when you hit the 10-year mark, we usually bring guys on once they hit the 10-year mark just to kind of clap it up, because I know it's a huge deal in the clubhouse and it's the respect of the players. When you're a guy like him and you're chasing that and you're like, man, if I spend a little more time in the bigs, it changes your life, right? Even if you've got money in the bank.
Yeah, changes everything, you know? I mean, like I said, it's a respect factor, because it's like, oh, man, I played 10 years in the show. It's a special feeling, man. And shout out to Keuchel, because, you know, he was a guy that it was all about location for him. And I feel like he started to lose his location, like locating the baseball, like he did throughout his entire career, early in his career. And I think that's when he started to get in trouble. But if you're saying he's throwing harder and he's back to locating, and he's looking like the old Keuchel, hey, he can be dangerous. And I have no doubt he'll definitely get that 10-year service time.
And that, man, you get that 10, it's not the Hall of Fame, but it's just a little bit, you know, stick your chest out a little bit more. I got 10, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Full. I'm fully vested. What are you talking about? You know?
And now back to foul territory.
Let's run it. FT live on Stadium. Scotty Braun, AJ Pierzynski, Erik Kratz, and we do have our poll question. What was the best fight in baseball history? A-Rod versus Varitek, 04, at least recent history. Jose Bautista versus Rougned Odor in 2016. Got the Cardinals and Reds battle in 2010. There's a lot to unpack there. And then Padres and Braves in 1984, Nolan Ryan against Robin Ventura in 1993. If you want to go in the comments and say some rando fight.
Had White Sox Tigers like 2000, 2001, where Robert Fick was walking out the field, double burning, getting showered with beer when he walked into the bullpen.
Okay.
I mean, that was a good, it was Dean Palmer comes, Doug Brocail come charging on the mound at Jim Parquet. It's a good one. It went on for like 20 minutes. And it was like solid punching too.
We'll take write-in candidates in the chat right now. So, okay, let's get into it. First off, on the fight side, AJ, when you see that happen live for the first time, and you know the history, right? And I can give it just a little bit of a reset where Arias, the rookie Gabriel Arias on the Guardians, was hearing it from Tim Anderson during the game. And there was the tag from Anderson on Friday against Brian Rocchio, which brought him off the bag. Tito was pissed. He gets booted from the game. Jose Ramirez clearly was talking to him about his hard tags and saying, he told us after the game, like, we're playing for our families and the sport, and you could get people hurt. You're disrespecting the game. Because some people are like, what do you mean by disrespecting the game? I think he was clear that hard tags were the problem. And if you're watching the show right now, you're seeing there's the tag. So take me through everything, including from the get-go here. Would you have been pissed at the tag if you're on the other side?
The tag didn't look that hard. If you've seen the video, which everyone kind of have seen it now, the tag didn't look that hard. I think it was more that he was standing over him and he was kind of holding it on him. And if you saw the Rocchio tag, he did pull him off, and he's not supposed to be able to be called out for that. And the umpires called him out, and then you saw Tito go crazy and get kicked out. Tito got kicked out of like every game this series, which is amazing.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, there were some other things that happened. But Ramirez was just downright. Listen, Jose Ramirez is we talked about the White Sox leader. I'll tell you who the leader of the White Sox is, or the Guardians is. It's Jose Ramirez. And you know what he did? He said, all right, Tim Anderson, you want to be the leader of the team? Let's see. And we saw, we all saw what happened. Now, this goes back, though. How do we know this stuff from Jose Ramirez? Because he talked about it. He stood in front of the microphone. Now, listen, it's easier to stand in front of the microphone when you're the guy knocking the other guy out. But I've been on the other end of it. Now, again, granted, nothing really happened when I got hit, but I was punched, right?
Did you fall?
No.
I know.
But what I'm saying is, like, I got hit, right? I got sucker punched.
Yep.
Fine. This wasn't a sucker punch. This was squared up, right? But guess what I did? I stood up. And I talked to the media after. I waited. This was like the second inning of the game. Rich Hill was the pitcher. God, Rich Hill's still pitching. But it was like the second inning when this happened. And guess what I did? I waited around until after the game. And guess what? The next day, I was there to answer questions again. And I gave my side of what happened. And people got to see. Michael Barrett gave his side. I gave my side. Jose Ramirez gave his side. We got nothing from the White Sox. Other than Pedro Grifol said, we're going to let Major League Baseball look at this and take it from there. Dude, stand up for your guy. Stand up for your player and say, Tim didn't like what Jose Ramirez said or did, so guess what? Let's go. Fine, boys will be boys, like Tito said. But the thing is, you got to say something. And to just not say anything and duck the media, and then, again, when we were talking to Russ, the next day we played the Cubs again. Michael Barrett was catching. Guess what? I came up to hit. Nothing was said between us, but I wasn't scheduled day off. It was day game. It was Sunday. Carlos Zambrano pitching, one of the notorious guys, right? Ended up being a great dude. We ended up becoming friends later, but I hit a homer off him in the game. He's chasing me around the bases, yelling at me, but I was there, right? I admit it. I did his thing when I hit home plate, and that really pissed him off. But whatever. But he was screaming at me running around the bases, right? Fine, but I was there.
He's going to have to talk eventually.
Was he going to hide from the media for the rest of his career?
He's going to talk in the next day or two.
But what's he going to say now? It's too late. I don't want to talk about it. Like he's going to be no comment. Dude,
he had some deleted tweets.
Which is even worse. Like, just stand up and say, this is what happened. Even if you say he landed a lucky punch on me.
Yeah.
Cool. Like, I don't know if you've ever been we've all been in fights.
I have.
Right? Like, sometimes it happens. The best boxers in the world. Best fighters in the world. Guess what? Sometimes guys land lucky punches. Mm-hmm. Shit happens. But you gotta stand up. Why'd you fight him? Why'd you just drop your glove? What did Jose Ramirez say to you to make you take your glove and throw it down and say, let's go? Then I want to know why he went southpaw. Because he's right-handed. Why would you not? He went lefty. And then he went hook right. Mm-hmm. Jose ducked, and then he tried to double up with it, and that opened it up. That opened him up to the right.
And Kopech
was... like kind of Kopech. Listen, I give Kopech credit. He tried to get him, Ramírez. He had him, but he was just didn't have, because he had his glove on. He had his glove in his hand. So Ramírez was able to get that looping right. It just hit him in the right spot. I mean, it didn't look like, it wasn't like a direct like. I mean, it was kind of a looping and just hit him in the right spot.
Yeah, it's a Hail Mary punch.
Yeah,
and it worked.
What do they always say in boxing? A puncher chance. One good shot.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened to land in the perfect spot, man. And it sucks. It does, dude. Because I was texting with Russ, and I was texting the White Sox, some of the White Sox reporters that I know, and I was like, dude, tell me, give me some scoop on this. And they just kind of were like, and I said, listen, I know this, and I live it. He better be ready, because people are going to ask him for the rest of his life to sign a picture. You know what that picture is going to be? That picture. And guess who gets it all the time? I get it all the time. And you know what I do? Shoot, there you go. Enjoy it. And you know what else I do about it? I laugh about it. Because there's nothing you can do to change it. You can't change it. So guess what? It's part of your career now. Jose Bautista, guess what? Everywhere he goes, people are like, damn, dude, you got smashed by Rognan Odor. So what? Shit happens. But don't avoid it. If anything, embrace it. Like, people were like, oh, I tell people all the time, I go, I'm remembered for two things on the White Sox: getting punched and striking out in the LCS and running to first.
And winning a World Series. But yes.
But people, you know what people want to talk to me the most about? The punch and striking out and running to first. Those are the two things people bring up more than the world. They're like, oh, yeah, won the World Series. Great. And listen, shit happens. But you got to embrace it. You got to talk about it. And you got to be able to move on from it, because if you send out cryptic tweets and again, Tim, whatever you're doing, I don't know what's going on. That's your business. Did you handle it? I'm just saying the way I would have handled it and the way I think you could handle it better is by talking about it and giving your side of the story. Because otherwise, media can just say whatever they want, and people can say whatever they want. But give your side. Say Jose Ramírez said this. I squared up. Fine. If you want to say he got a lucky punch, whatever. Fine. Cool. People, I guarantee you, will say, okay, I get it. I've been there.
Say can't wait for round 2, Kratzy.
Yeah, no doubt. Did you guys hear the Phillies and the Royals were playing this weekend too?
No,
nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody cares.
But Kratzy, here's the thing: the White Sox are awful this year. We talk about them more. They've had more drama and more crap than any team. It's like they just. It's unbelievable to me. Like fights and trades, and then guys pop it. It's like, dude, you guys are not very good. Why are we having so much drama with the White Sox?
And one more thing, then we'll get into Middleton too, is like the ump backs up like 80
Oh, that
steps.
was awesome. Malachi Moore was like, he was like the UFC guy where he's like, let's get it on. He's like,
and then he backs up. And some people are like, how come the ump doesn't step in? I'm like, really?
No
First
chance.
off, that is great for the sport. Second of all, they don't make that much money that he should be taking a haymaker from either of those guys. Back the fuck up. Let it go for a second, right?
Totally. He can't be getting in there. But my thing, you went off about TA. My thing is about Pedro. Pedro Grifol hasn't said anything. Like you said, he said, oh, we're not going to talk about it. MLB is going to take care of it. Like, isn't this the whole issue? If there's no leaders, you're supposed to foster and encourage leaders in the clubhouse. The guy, you can't just sit there and be like, it's just nobody that I can lean on to be a leader. Like, encourage somebody. Hey, I know you don't have a lot of time, but you need to be able to step up. Hey, you need to be able to do this kind of thing. And then the whole cryptic not saying anything himself, to me, is just indicative of what the entire season has been for them. And I know Tony La Russa had the issues last year, so it's definitely a player's thing. But you knew this coming in. You weren't just like, you didn't just say, oh, wow, this was a really good team that had no issues last year. You have to be able to mitigate that kind of stuff. And part of it's talking to the media. And I'll couple what you said about the whole you getting punched by Michael Barrett. I talked to Michael Barrett about this. He took more of the TA approach of it. He's embarrassed about it. And I think TA is embarrassed about it. So I think it's harder to say something if you're constantly embarrassed about it and then you're delaying and you're not saying no comment. Well, it's just going to get worse.
I like one of the comments from another AJ early in here. Scotty Pods took out Barrett. If you want to go into all that.
There was a whole lot. Yeah, we don't want to talk about it because I get
we'll focus on the present.
No,
here.
I know, but I've told this story. I don't really like digging into it, but I'll just say this: Scott Pasenic and Brian Anderson, Rob Makoviak, Joey Cora. Joey Cora was accused of biting John Mabry on the bottom of the pile, right? Which he denies. But John Mabry, who was my hitting coach in St. Louis, was like, dude, that little bastard was biting me under the pile. I'm like, what? And I'm like, Joey, you're biting. He's like, I didn't bite anybody, but like it was. But okay, so I mean, again, but like I love what Kratz said. Like, yes, you're right, Kratz. I stood up and said this happened, and you're right. At the time, Michael Barrett just kind of was like, I don't want to talk about it. And we've talked very little. Michael and I, we've been around each other very little, and we've said hello. And we're kind of, I don't want to say past it because I'm not really. It's not something you ever really kind of get past, especially for me, for someone that I knew before. And we had done some stuff off the field and done a bunch of things together.
You had done events and
yeah,
and
with
like
him.
That?
And so like I kind of consider him, I don't want to say a friend, but like an acquaintance that I knew. So for that to happen, okay, fine. But forever, guess who's linked now? Jose Ramirez and Tim Anderson. Guess who's linked? Rognan Odor, Jose Bautista, Nolan Ryan, Robin Ventura. Like these things are just, it's just the way it is. Every time Cubs White Sox comes on, what's the first thing they show? Me and Michael Barrett. Yep. From now on, every time the Guardians and the White Sox play, guess what's going to be on TV? Mm-hmm. That fight, right? So you might as well own up to it and just wear it and be like, we had a guy, Ed Farmer, rest in peace. He was the old radio announcer for the White Sox. Love him to death. He got in a fight in 1980. Al Cowan was his name. He had hit him in the head, knocked him unconscious, knocked him out of the game. He told a story that Al Cowan hit a ground ball. He came back. He faced him like after he'd come back from being out of the game. He hits a ground ball to shortstop. Al Cowan runs halfway to first, beelines to the mound. So he hit the ground ball, halfway to first, runs, tries to jump Ed Farmer from behind. Okay? All hell breaks. This is like 1980, so all hell was breaking. We found video. It took us years to finally find this video. I get a copy of it. And I show it to Ed Farmer on the plane. I said, Farmio, I got it. And I had it on my lap. That was when you had to put a disc into a laptop. It wasn't streaming. And I was like, dude, look what I got. He got so mad about it. And I'm like, Farmio, like this happens. He's like, well, when Barrett punched you in the grill, I go, it happens. Shit happens. Right? He didn't talk to me for like months after this. All because I showed something that happened in his career. Like, dude, like it happened. It was 40 years ago. Like, who cares?
There's an ego hit for some people. I mean, you're different. Like, you handle it with class, I gotta say. Also, dude, you got punched and you stood there and were kind of like, fuck you. Tim Anderson got knocked out.
Dude.
But for him right now,
I understand there's a personal pride. I'm sure his boys are, because my boys are like, they still say shit to me.
Right.
People say stuff to me like everywhere I go. But you know what? I'm like, yeah, whatever. I mean, I get it. And Kratz, you've been around guys. I'm sure that and again, this is, and I don't want to get personal at all because this is not a personal thing. But what it happened on the field, what happened on the field happened on the field. So own up to it and say, yeah, got a lucky punch. Fine. At least then you can say, yeah.
I would have also said like, dude can't take a hard tag. That's a hard tag because you have plenty of lines you could throw back there.
There's a lot of stuff.
I must say, like, yes, what happened afterward is what happened after that play. The tag itself, I kept looking. I'm like, was that a hard tag? I was like, that looked like a tag. So, yes, things were brewing in that series, clearly, okay? And then the last part of this with Middleton.
Can we talk about another team? Can we talk? I mean,
yeah, sure. Let's get back to Middleton later.
It's fine. I mean, while we're on it, let's just get into it. But it's like, that's what I said to Kratz. God, like, we're talking about this team like they're the best team of all time. And they're awful. They're 20-plus games under 500. But every day, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. Every day, there's like a new something that comes out. You're like, oh, my gosh, what happened? Wait, they did this? Oh, gosh.
You always need a team. The Mets were that team for a long time under previous ownership. They've had a bad year, but they haven't had the drama. The White Sox are the drama right now, okay? Yeah. So Keenan Middleton leaves the team. He's had a pretty good year. He joins the Yankees. He's like, I don't want to shave, but I can't wait to fucking shave because this team I'm coming from has no rules. Nothing's lining up. And he said, I mean, some of his quotes, I'll just read a couple. We came in with no rules. I don't know how you police the culture if there are no rules or guidelines to follow because everyone's doing their own thing. Like, how do you say anything about it because there are no rules? Quote, you have rookies sleeping in the bullpen during the game. You have guys missing meetings. You have guys missing pitchers' fielding practices. And there are no consequences for any of this stuff. And we're going to ask Lance Lynn, of course, about all of this. But Kratzy, I mean, he's saying that. Keuchel called them out in the past though for having no rules and got ripped for it. But saying in the World Baseball Classic, no Lance Lynn and Kendall Graveman like crushes the team in spring training. You're missing 2 pitchers, and it's like no one can follow rules anymore, right? And also, he mostly was calling out, besides the sleepers in the bullpen, the position players too. He spent a whole chunk of his quotes on that as well. To me, this is really going for it right now, which is fine. I mean, clearly, I think it's all true, but he did not leave anything back, and he just left the ball club. What do you think, and what has to happen here? Have you seen anything like this where guys are just doing their own thing in Major League Baseball with no consequences? And we'll talk later about Alex Verdugo being a few hours late, and it's like he's basically gone from the team, and they acted like it was the worst day in Boston history in the last 5 years. And it's like that's called Tuesday in Chicago on the South Side.
There's definitely some drama here, but I think if you can read between lines throughout this entire season, AJ and I have definitely winked and hinted based on our questions to different White Sox players about leadership and all this stuff. And this is really just all coming to a head. It's just the volcano of I don't know. Jesse Rogers must have been standing there like with his phone out, just like, yes, continue. Continue. Like, I can't believe I'm getting all this. But it's something that I love that he's saying this. And I also love the fact that he made the correlation between him shaving. He wasn't just like, oh, I want to get the heck out of here. Yes, he wanted to get the heck out of there. But he also was like, I'm okay with some rules, Scott Braun. Like, I'm okay with shaving my face. And maybe this is kind of like, would you rather play for the White Sox with no rules and let's just do whatever we want to do, bro, and let's just never finish above 500? Or would you rather go to a place that has rules, and when you struggle, you know it wasn't because of something easy that you could fix? And it's not a shave or not shave kind of thing. It's, what do rules actually do for a team? And I love that Keenan saw that. And he saw that, he's like, all right, well, I got a rule I have to follow. That's more rules than I've had to follow under Pedro Grifol and Rick Hahn and whoever else is in charge over there for the entire season, because I'm not going to – and the other thing, too, he's not going to sit there and be like, he's almost a free agent, so he's a veteran guy. In that bullpen, he's probably one of the more veteran guys with Liam out most of the year. Kendall Graveman's up there, too. But if you see other people not getting in trouble for things, you can only so much say something. You can only be like, all right, yeah, hey, knock it off. Or, hey, you got to make it sure you're here on time. Most of the time, guys are like, hey, bro, like, don't be afraid to get here on time, as like a joke, and then they figure it out or someone else says something to them. But I love that he said all this stuff, but we are spending a lot of time on a team that's a lot of games under 500.
Well, Scott, here's my thing, though. Like, everything Erik said is true. Okay, so I played for Ozzie Guillen in Chicago, right? I also played for Robin Ventura. Ozzie Guillen only had 2 rules when I was there. Be on time. Be on time.
Mm-hmm.
2, you be outside for the national anthem. Those are Ozzie Guillen's 2 rules that he had. And come ready to play. Like, he didn't care what you did off the field. Just when you show up for 7 o'clock, your ass better be ready to play. I don't care if you went out all night and did whatever you wanted to do. Just make sure you were there ready to go at 7 o'clock, which, great. But you also have to have, Erik, and I think you'll agree with this, Ozzie would rip your ass in the newspaper. Like, he wasn't afraid. Like, Ozzie, listen, Ozzie and I love Ozzie. Ozzie and I, we go back and forth. But deep down, he played me, and I respected the hell out of Ozzie. You also have to have some players that'll say something too, Erik. And that's the part that I think Russ was kind of hitting at, we've kind of hinted at. Who was the guy that's going to go to whoever, and the thing was, Middleton or Jesse Rogers, he threw names out there. It wasn't like, this was like, oh, anonymous guy was sleeping. They're like, it was this guy. Or this guy doesn't show up to work on time. They were like, oh, no, it's him. Or this guy ain't preparing properly. Oh, it's him. It's Scott Braun. Like, it wasn't like anonymous crap. This was like, hey, you. But he's not there anymore. Lance isn't there anymore, right? Graveman's not there anymore. Giolito's not there anymore. Hendricks hasn't really been around all year. So you also have to have player-led conversations with guys. We had Konerko. We had me, obviously, that people always said, I wasn't afraid to say anything to anybody. We also had Mark Burley, right? Would say something to the pitchers. Canerico would take a guy and take him to lunch and be like, hey, look, you got to be better than this. And they would, okay. Meanwhile, I would just be like, hey, listen, dude, like I'd yell at him across probably the wrong way to do it. That was just the way I would, We also had Jermaine Dye would say stuff to guys, right? Bobby Jenks, when he was there, would take command of the bullpen and tell guys things. You have to have player-led things. It can't always be on the coaches. And now, Erik, you coach high school team. I help coach we tell the kids all the time. It has to be player-led because if it constantly comes from the coaches, you tune them out after a while, right? Yep. So there has to be player-led conversations, and that's kind of what I think that we're keep talking about here with the White Sox is who is the player that's going to – you got to have balls, and you got to not be afraid, and you got to be okay with people not liking you. And that's a hard thing for a lot of guys because everybody wants to be liked by everybody. But will you have that guy that is – strong enough mentally and in their role on the team to go to guys and say, hey, you can't be late. But then also, will the team back up the manager, Pedro Gaffol, if you have a Verdugo situation where he's late and Alex Cora's like, guess what? You ain't playing. And I'm calling your ass out in the paper. And I'm making you feel like shit because it's the worst day in Red Sox history or whatever he said, right? Like you got to have both of those things. Because I guarantee you, whoever the player is, whether it's Devers, whether it's I don't know who the player would be on the Red Sox.
Justin Turner's a big
Justin
leader
Turner,
there. Yep.
Right? I mean, whoever it is, they took him out. They took him somewhere. And we're like, this can't happen again, dude. Right? But you have to have both. You can't just have, but it needs to be more player-led for me.
Okay. And when we talked to Lance later, by the way, also in that story, they had an April meeting, and it was only pitchers speaking. Whoa. Okay. So we'll get to all of that. Okay. Excited for the rest of the show, which includes Tom Hamilton, the voice of the Guardians, who had the call heard around the world, and Lance Lynn a little bit later. We'll do the poll results from the best fight in recent history. And let's pop off. Is Giancarlo Staton okay?
Big Woo gets so much attention. And I think, I get to learn how some of the players are liked and respected. And Brandon Woodruff is talked about like for months now, even when he's on the IL. Of course, we know what he does on the bump, but dudes in Milwaukee, because we have a lot of them on low, they miss him. Freddie Peralta just went out and said it in the beginning of the year, which I thought was fun. He was like, that's my guy. That's my number one on the mound if I need somebody, and he's got good teammates with him too. Like Corbin Burns is no slouch, but Brandon Woodruff is respected. And hey, you want a second half addition? We talk about that. I think some teams play that up too much. Like the Red Sox were saying, oh, we got all these pitchers coming back. Like Sale, I'm like, okay, but Sale's great, but he's been hurt a lot. Like he can't stay on the field right now. They're talking about like Tanner Houck and Garrett Whitlock. Like Brandon Woodruff coming back. That is a legit claim by a team to be like, we have a dude that's better than any free or trade addition that we could make at the deadline.
Yeah, and he is that dude. That's the thing, you like to hear about. He's that dude. And Big Woo's he's a great clubhouse guy, and I know it's eating him alive that he hasn't been able to pitch all year. And he's itching to get back out there. I just know the kind of mentality he has and the competitor he is. So, for Freddie to say that, that's something I experienced. You love to have great guys in the clubhouse because it makes the environment a lot more fun. And also you have a top competitor that goes out there and dominates on the mound each start. So, overall, he brings everything to the table that you want in a player.
Yeah, Brandon Woodruff is legit, man. That's a big help for this team. They've got a solid 1, 2, 3 at the top of that rotation that you don't want to mess with in the playoffs. That's like an old school 1, 2, 3. You have 3 guys, Jonesy, that can go 7, 8 innings in a playoff start, and then it's like Piamps, who's been sick for them, not really a known name, but big trade addition for them. Piamps and Devin Williams, and good night. We took game 1, 2, and 3.
And now back to foul territory.
Okay, so let's close up the poll of best fight in baseball. And I know there's writing candidates, including what AJ said, but of the ones that we threw out there, the winner at the moment, and we'll close it, Bautista against Odor. And what do you think Joey Bats is doing right now?
Happiest guy in the world, Jose Bautista, because guess what? He ain't the guy that got punched hardest right now.
Little Cristal, a little.
Yeah, he's like the 72 Dolphins. Every time the last team, undefeated team loses, he's like, it's not me anymore, boys.
Agreed. He's off the hook.
All right, so let's pop off. Yes, we're going to cover a different team, the team that probably has the second most drama this year. Time to pop off, presented by our friends at Cereal Pop. We got some Fruity Pebbles on the desk. Okay, what's wrong with Giancarlo Staton? I keep saying this, and some of our Yankee fans behind the scenes are like, he's not hurt. Aaron Boone said he's not hurt. Okay, well, if you're listening to the pod, we're watching it right now on Stadium. Giancarlo is moving backwards, and he is out at home. Is he moving backwards? Is that in slow motion?
When I saw this originally, I was like, he's got to be hurt. But then why would they send him on a one hopper right to the center fielder? But I don't know. I don't know. Kratz, you got more Yankees knowledge than I do. I don't know.
You played with him.
I did play that. This is one of my favorite. Giancarlo, when the third base coach waves him home.
Is that like a Disney movie snail or something? Because I don't know any of that stuff. Or just a random snail.
Monsters U?
Monsters Inc? Okay.
Monsters Inc. I think it's Monsters Inc. 2. I think it's the second one. But anyway.
I'm sure someone will call us out if we got it wrong. Turbo.
Oh,
there we go.
Turbo. Dang it. I should have known that one. Anyway, great movie. No, G is not Turbo. He has more speed than this. I love the different camera angles because everyone was ripping the third base coach. And you send a guy, he was already 3 steps past third base when he sent him and the outfielder had the ball. Like, that's an automatic send. If you're on the base and the guy's throwing it, that's a send, automatic. And then that one angle, it flashes right before you see the catcher catch it, and then you see G come in from the left side of the screen. He looks like he is slowed down. It looks like he is taking his time. So to me, I just don't think he thought he was going to get thrown out.
Wow. There's someone that was slow. I can't comment on it.
Yeah, but something has to.
It just looked bad because I remember when I played against Stanton, he was fast. Like, that dude could run.
Yeah,
he was a monster.
You watch him and you're like, that's a football player.
Yeah,
that's not a football player. Maybe a lineman, but probably even not. Like that slowness can't work in any scenario, can it? Like, if you're his teammate, you're like, bro, are you okay?
If he's in the outfield, is he running that slow to go
No,
get
he
a
runs
ball?
slower on the bases.
He's slower on the bases than he is in the outfield?
I believe so, yeah. I think that's what some people pointed out.
Wow. I mean, listen, I hope you're not hurt, G. I hope you're okay because you're a good dude. And
Great dude.
So I don't know. Just, I don't know.
Anyway.
If you're a Yankees fan, I'm sorry.
Visit cookiepopcandypop.com and enter code FOULBALL for 20% off.
Hey, that little snail. That's funny.
Yeah. We'll shake. There it is. Okay, so that's it for our Stadium Hour. We're going to be on the Foul Territory YouTube channel going over more of the Brawl of the Year with Tom Hamilton, who made the call, and Lance Lynn, former White Sox player. And we'll get into Trea Turner, not getting the booze, and so much more in Hour 2.
So I can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me, and I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah.
What's going on? FT Live on a Monday. Damn, you know what? Scott Braun, AJ Pierzynski, Erik Kratz. I wish that all of the shit that went down on the weekend was spread out a little bit more. Like, I felt as if sometimes I'm watching games on a weekend, I'm like, do something. Something crazy happened. You know, it was good ball, whatever, for weeks. But then
There
this
was a lot
weekend,
this weekend.
holy
Crazy shit
shit.
happened.
We just don't have enough time. Good thing we're on 2 hours a day every day. We can spill some of this into tomorrow. But
Yeah, but today's a new day.
there's
What's
more.
great about baseball? It's just
Guess who the
gifts that
Yankees-
keeps on giving.
Hey, Kratz, guess who the Yankees play today?
I should know this. It's Cole versus.
Cease.
White Sox.
Oh,
Guess
the
who
Whites.
plays for the Yankees? Keenan Middleton.
What a great.
Oh my God.
We better get to everything from the weekend today because we're going to have more tomorrow. There's no.
Yes.
This
I
is
mean,
the
if he
gift
pit-
that
if
keeps on
Keenan
giving.
Middleton comes in and like strikes out the side, I mean, he's going to throw the confetti on the mound.
And he might.
Or if they score a bunch of runs off him, the White Sox might be throwing the confetti on him. So it could get entertaining.
Well, pitchers don't hit anymore, at least, so they can't throw at him. So there's that. Anyway, we're going to talk to Tom Hamilton, voice of the Guardians, in just a few minutes. Go wherever you'd like to go on the wild card madness from the weekend. There are so many teams that are in streaks, many of them losing streaks. And the only thing it does do on the positive end is keep so many teams involved, right? Like, we're going to have a great race the last couple months. It might be teams stumbling to the finish line, but maybe the Twins were onto something when they just didn't do anything at the trade deadline and watched the rest of the AL Central sell off.
That's what Bob Nightingale
Bob
said.
Nightingale, that was one of my favorite tweets of the last month. He's like, look at the Twins getting better by not selling
By
as
not
opposed
doing
to
anything.
everyone else.
Not doing anything.
Yeah. So many teams, though, and I know I listened to so many GM interviews again over the weekend, and so many of them are complaining, oh, it was such a tough deadline to get stuff done. You know, we teams were asking for too much. Okay. Some teams that didn't do anything are getting punished. Red Sox.
Yeah. But then teams that did a lot, Angels, they ain't won.
Well, they're not good, though.
But they went Giolito, they went and got all these dudes, Grichuk, Crone, right?
Quick
Ronaldo
trivia
Lopez.
question, okay? And I heard this from my friend Mike Farron on the radio. I asked this to our chat. Which team is closer to a playoff spot right now? The Pittsburgh Pirates or the Angels?
Well, it's obviously the Pirates if you're asking the question.
Kratz?
Same Pirates.
Okay. The answer is the Angels, but they're only a half game closer to a playoff spot than the Pirates. Sorry. I mean, there's one thing to just be a bad team and try to get it better. I do think the Angels are in like Pirates territory, especially right now. They don't have Trout. That definitely hurts them right now. Ohtani's sitting there. Teams are pitching around him more lately. He's sitting there like nearly in tears. Like, when is this nightmare going to end? And there actually is an answer this time. It's like whatever your last regular season game is, October 1st or some shit like that. We're looking at the standings right now. If you're watching the show on YouTube, and if you're listening to the pod, you should check out the YouTube show too whenever you can. Seattle is on a heater. They're good. They're better than they looked in the first several months, and they have a starting rotation that's built to last.
What did they do at the trade deadline?
Traded away their closer and got two position players who are like 2 for 25 right now.
Yeah.
Yes, Sewell blew a save on the weekend, but that was a bad trade. But they're just better than they've been.
They should have been better than what they've been.
Yeah.
Much like the Padres we keep talking about, but they keep continuing to be the Dodgers' little brother. I thought I got over it last year when they beat him in the playoffs, but the Padres and Dodgers just go in there like, go away, little gnat. Like, he's right when you think the Padres are getting hot. Oh, they play the Dodgers. They lost 2 out of 3 they play again today, but still. They lost all 3 now?
No, they're 3 games back.
Who?
The Padres. That's it, though. That's the thing.
They're 3 games out of the wild. Yes, but but you look at the Reds. They did nothing. They've just kind of they're in a wild card spot. They're lost 6 in a row. They're tied with the wild card. I mean,
the Reds piss me off now because I think I wasn't hard enough on them.
Miami did stuff. They've lost 4.
Yeah.
Arizona did stuff. They've lost 6 in a row.
They didn't do enough, Arizona. Cincinnati, though, just got swept by the Nationals in their own ballpark.
Nationals are good.
Do you see who the Reds are running out there? And then the latest dude who gives up the homers, the homers in the first inning.
First 2 pitches he threw, he gave up 2 homers on the first 2 pitches he threw in the big
They're throwing
leagues.
out names right now. I'm looking again and I'm going, oh, wait, they actually did need a lot more starting pitching and relief pitching depth. And they completely flunked and they're making a ton of money. That's a disappointment. And we're probably going to go there at some point too as a show.
Well, you guys are.
You won't go?
I'm not invited on the road.
Oh, you might be invited. We'll see.
You can come to this trip. We'll let you.
Okay, thank you, Mom and Dad.
All right, so anyone we're missing here? Yeah, the Diamondbacks played very
The Guardians,
poorly.
let's not forget about the Guardians. I mean, the Twins, like you said, the Twins have a 4.5 game lead. The Guardians lost 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. They're 4.5 back, 8.5 out of the wild card.
They're toast.
It seems like it. And they have all rookies starting for them. They traded Savali to the Rays. He was their one guy they could count on in the rotation.
I listened to Mike Chernoff.
I can't wait to ask Tom Hamilton about
Me
this.
too.
one.
They're pissed off. They had to fly to wherever they were last week, the front office, to talk to the team. They were pissed. José Ramírez, the leader of the team. This is the one guy who
Maybe that's why he got in a fight.
What? That he's
Yeah.
pissed? Also, do you know who apparently I'd known this for years. I don't know if it's his best friend, but one of his best friends is Ahmed Rosario. He gets dealt too. And he's playing a little better. He's probably going to play better.
He had a
with
big
the Dodgers,
homer for
of
the
course.
Dodgers yesterday.
Yeah,
A million
the
RBIs,
Guardians
too.
acted like, oh, it's time for the youth movement, right? Bye Rosario, bye Savali.
Savali was young. Savali was young.
They said when Bieber and McKenzie are back, we have 3 other starters to backfill the rotation. I'm like, and when does any team have all 5 of their starters healthy at the same time and you're relying on 3 rookies? You know what? Let's get into it right now with Tom Hamilton, voice of the Guardians. But let's start with the good stuff. Tom joining us. Tom, great to see you. I spent some time last year meeting you when I was with Yonder Alonso calling a game and had a great time. And I was like, AJ, we got to get Tom on. I know you've had a lot of attention this weekend. So congrats on a great call. I know you probably are going to understate things, but it's hard to do it in the moment. So take us through it, Tom. How you doing?
Well, good. Thank you, Scott and AJ and Eric. I appreciate you having me on. And I'm not real comfortable with this because it isn't about me. It's about Jose. And I think, guys, one thing we learned, we always hear about 5-tool players. We now have the first 6-tool player in Jose Ramirez based on that right hook. So I think the biggest thing about that, guys, is it shows why Jose Ramirez is revered in that clubhouse. This was all about him sticking up for a couple of youngsters, Gabriel Arias and Brian Rocchio, who had been dealing with some of the issues with Tim Anderson starting back in the series in Chicago and things that were being said by Tim to those guys. And with a tag play on Friday night, it got to the point that the umpire Saturday night had gone into the White Sox dugout and told Tim to knock it off. Now, again, you're hearing the Cleveland side of the story, and this is based on my talking to players and coaches and whatnot Sunday morning, because quite honestly, I didn't know that any of this had been, the undercurrent, so to speak, because quite frankly, nor should we know this. As Eric and AJ know, what goes on in the clubhouse stays in the clubhouse, or at least it should. Now, when everything escalated Saturday night, you were like, what the heck was this all about? Well, now you know. But again, that was Jose Ramirez showing Tim Anderson, or anybody else for that matter, that, look, you're not going to bully the rookies on this ball club, and I'm going to stand up for them just like I would for Josh Naylor or Shane Bieber or any other veteran.
And so Jose Ramirez is Cleveland Guardians baseball. He signed that long-term contract. He playing with him in spring training in 2017. He really feels comfortable in a Cleveland uniform. Is he a little, you feel like he's a little pissed because they got rid of Aaron Savali, one of his buddies, Ahmed Rosario, another veteran in Josh Bell, and now this team is 4 games out of the first place in the Central?
Well, there's no question, Eric, that the veterans in particular were upset by the trade deadline and what went on. And that's why, Chris and Cherney have always been, and so has Tito, transparency rules when it comes to this organization and the culture that's been created. And while Chris and Cherney couldn't be there on Tuesday when the trading deadline was, coming to an end, they hopped a 6:30 flight on Wednesday morning, even though we had a day game in Houston, to make sure that these guys could talk to them face to face. They could air out whatever grievances or feelings that they had. They could ask questions as to what direction this is, indicating that the ball club is going. And, I think Cherney and Chris deserve a lot of credit for doing that because, quite frankly, they could have waited. But Thursday was going to be an off day. Then the homestand was starting on Friday. And they felt like we need to get down there and let these guys know why this happened and let them say whatever they want to say. Now, whether they agree with it or not, you guys have been in clubhouses. Look, when you're a veteran, everything is about winning today. But when you're also a front office, you've got to be able to balance today with tomorrow. And quite honestly, guys, realistically, the numbers may say you're in this race. This is not a playoff team. Not without Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie, and Cal Quantrill, your three top starters who are not going to be back until sometime in September. There was no way that this was going to be feasible. You've got three rookies in the rotation. You're going to have to monitor their innings, and they're going to have to be probably limited as we go down the stretch because you can't hurt their future. So I know how the perception is. I know how it looks as far as, man, they're only a few games out. They're caving in. They're not really caving in. They just also felt like you've got to be realistic. As much as they did not want to trade Aaron Savali, the thing with Aaron is that over the last 3 years, including this year, he's missed anywhere from 2 to 3 months with various injuries. And it was a feeling like we better sell high on this, not knowing if he can stay healthy down the road. They know he's a good pitcher, but to get an impact bat like they hope they feel like they got, you have to give something up of quality. And that's what they had to do to get Mansardo. How does this work out? Well, as you guys know, when you trade for prospects, you can't judge a trade for 4 or 5 years. And so we'll see. But, I think the bottom line is, guys, if Bieber, McKenzie, and Quantrill were healthy and pitching the way they did a year ago, this is a totally different scenario at the trade deadline.
Tom, you didn't get to probably hear us earlier when we were talking about the whole fight situation on Saturday and how I love what José Ramírez did. I stood up, gave his side of the story and said, this is what happened. I'm standing up for my boys. You're the unquestioned leader on that team. No doubt. And he did it. I love it. And then you have Tito who goes to the mic and says his side of the story. And he kind of made a joke out of it. He's like, I don't mean to be funny, but here it is. Right. So to me, Tito Francona is schooling the White Sox in the way they dealt with this. You get Pedro Grifol who's going, I don't want to talk about it. I'll let Major League Baseball handle it. And you got Tito saying, yeah, José's our leader. He stood up for our guys. There has to be a pretty good feeling inside the Cleveland clubhouse and organization that, hey, not only does José Ramírez have our back, but Terry Francona pretty much stood up for our whole team and said, you want to fight? Well, here's our Mike Tyson, right? He's coming out to get you. I mean, that's a great feeling as a player.
I think it is. And I think, and again, I'm only looking at it from Cleveland's side. One, I really like Pedro Grifol. I've known him since he was a coach with the Kansas City Royals. I think he's a high caliber human being. I think he's going to be a really good manager. I think you also have the advantage of Tito being a veteran. And, when you've accomplished what Tito has accomplished, you've got a little more leeway to say and do things than maybe somebody that's their first year as a manager. But you're right, AJ. Look, there's a reason why people want to play for Tito. And I don't want to disparage any manager that has been in the game before this, but I've never seen anybody like Tito that connects with every walk of life, not only in that clubhouse, but when we went to the World Series in 2016, in 2017, Tito said, I want to make sure that anybody that wants a picture of the American League championship trophy and want that picture with me is able to get it. But he goes, that means everybody. That means the people that clean the ballpark. That means the people that are maybe in the janitorial service department of this ballpark. There was no, you're not good enough to get a picture with Tito in the trophy. He means everybody. So Tito has never thought he is above anybody. And I think that creates a culture. And again, I'm preaching to the choir. Scott and I weren't good enough to be pro players like AJ and Erik, but you guys know in a clubhouse when you feel like your manager has your back and that, I just think there's never been a better manager that I've seen than Tito.
Hey, I've got a follow-up here for you from Travis, who said, Tom mentioned Tim Anderson harassing guards rookies in previous series. First I've heard of that. Can we get a follow-up on that? Are you talking about in this series the situation with Rocchio and Arias, or there was also prior beef?
Yeah, and again, Scott, I want to be real careful here because I don't want to come across like I'm burying Tim Anderson, because I think this guy's been one of the best hitters we have had in the American League over the last 7-8 years. And he's won a batting title. He was a guy that you never wanted to see up there with the game on the line, because I know how many big hits he's had against Cleveland. So I want to be real careful on that. I'm only telling it from what I've been told from our players. And we had back-to-back series with Chicago on the last road trip in here. I didn't know any of this until talking yesterday, but Rocchio was going first to third on a ball hit to right field in Chicago, turned back to try to see where the ball was, and Anderson thought he was looking at him. So Anderson had things to say to Gabriel Arias, and so that didn't sit very well. Look, I mean, these ball clubs have played each other a lot. There were things that were said last year, even by Elvis Andrus, saying that this Cleveland ball club would crumble when it came to crunch time, in the pennant stretch there or the division stretch in September. So, that's part of baseball. Things are going to be said. These guys are competitors. But it seemed like in José's mind, let me just say it that way, José felt like some of the youngsters, there was an attempt to maybe bully them a little bit. And again, this is the Cleveland side of the story. But again, if you're a teammate of José or a guy like Josh Naylor, they're gonna go to war for you. And I hate to use that metaphor, but I mean, you saw Josh Naylor out there with an oblique injury, and he said, "I don't care. I'm out there to defend my teammates." And so that's where I didn't realize that this had been percolating since last week. And then it continued with some of the verbal stuff that was being said. At least that's what Cleveland said. Again, I'm sure Chicago has a side of this that we haven't heard as well. But again, that's why we were shocked because you didn't look at the play at second base with a head first slide and think anything unusual happened there. But as you heard José say after the game, he felt like, and he had said to Tim Anderson, "You're disrespecting the game with some of the things you're doing. I don't like some of the slap tags and the hard tags that you're doing. No one wants to get hurt out here. We're trying to provide for our families." And so I think José felt like it was up to him to get that message across, initially verbally, and then I don't think anybody thought it was going to happen. But once Tim Anderson dropped the glove, you're like, oh, okay. And then, guys, how about Malachi Moore, the second base ump? It was almost like he said, okay, you guys, you've touched gloves. I'm out of here. You guys go at it. That was
Tom, by the way, don't forget the Guardians last year said F the White Sox. Remember when they celebrated their division? They were chanting F the White Sox. So there's a lot of layers to this whole thing. Yep. But I want to know, you mentioned Elvis Andrus. You guys pissed him off because he gets like 4 hits a game against Cleveland. You guys should sign him because he might win the batting title like 40 years old. So before we move on, you guys stop talking shit about Elvis.
I'm telling you, AJ, I said it on the broadcast yesterday. If this guy played here 81 games, he'd be on his way to Cooperstown. He's hit like 380 lifetime in this ballpark. He is a guy that I have so respected his game from all the times he's played with the Texas Rangers. And he played shortstop yesterday again, like he was 25, not 35. And you're right, AJ. And again, I'm glad this pointed out. Look, there's been chirping down through the years on both sides, whether it's Cleveland saying stuff, whether it's Chicago saying stuff. This is never just a one-sided story. There's always two parts of it, and I'm
we
not
haven't
saying
heard,
anybody.
Amy, we haven't heard their side. That's the problem. We haven't heard them say anything. Like, come out and give us something. Give me Tim Anderson. Give me something. Pedro Cafol. I want to hear something. Don't dodge it.
Yeah, I'm guessing we will as time goes by, and I'm also guessing that Tim Anderson and José Ramirez are going to get a vacation they don't want, because we still haven't heard anything from Major League Baseball. I also have not seen our lineup yet. Normally, our lineup's already been posted. So I get a feeling we're still waiting to hear from Major League Baseball on what the suspensions are going to be. I mean, Rougned Odor, when Jose Bautista challenged him and it was a one-punch knockout as well, Odor got 8 games. That's been a few years, but I'm guessing both Ramirez and Anderson are going to get something similar.
All right, now this is back to your call, not just the fight, your call of it. Because Tito said post-game, he's like, yeah, kind of got, how can you not chuckle? You know, Hammy had a good call. Did you ever think like in this, like through this situation, or was it just you just watching the play and like down goes Anderson?
You know, Erik, I'm probably dating myself by using that phrase because there may be a lot of kids today and maybe even yourself who, you know, are like, who the heck was Howard Cosell and who's George Foreman? Isn't he the guy that has a grill? And, but I mean, for those of us that grew up in that era, I mean, that's one of the great calls of all time by Howard Cosell with, you know, George Foreman and Joe Frazier, who looked unbeatable until George Foreman destroyed him in that fight. No, you're not thinking about. First off, I've never yet come to a ballpark going, I bet there'll be a brawl tonight. You know, what am I going to say? So I just got lucky, and the words happened to pop in to my head. And trust me, there have been plenty of other times you leave that booth going, oh my gosh, why in the world did I say that? So I make mistakes on a nightly basis, and every once in a while you get lucky.
Have you ever wanted to call a boxing match or a fight or something like that? No.
No, I grew up with 3 brothers, and we did enough of that fighting in the backyard. So that's as close as I want to get to that. But and Tito's right. I mean, we don't want the game to get down to this. But by the same token, guys, I'm sure you've been involved in them as well. This is the first time we really had a baseball brawl in a fight. This thing kept escalating. There kept being brush fires after that you thought was really going to erupt into something else. And so I think we're looking at a few things here. It's August. It's hot. Guys are tired. Both teams are frustrated. Both teams made a lot of deals at the deadline where a lot of veteran players were traded away. And so I think it was a culmination of a lot of things. And, they call it the dog days of August for a reason. I tell you one thing, there isn't anybody that ever left this park on Saturday night going, man, I wish that game would have been 2.5 hours because the fight took 14 minutes and that's counted into time of game. So I don't know if Major League Baseball is going to come down on us for extending the game too long, but everybody was entertained.
Yeah, we're trying to get more action. We got more action there, so we were good. If we throw out the clock for a sec. Okay, so Tom, and again, I'll say this because you've been one of my favorite broadcasters for a long time. You've been calling games for Cleveland since I believe it was 1990. I looked up here, Ford Frick finalist. You'll get in there into the hall at some point. How does it affect you or make you feel that you've made so many big calls in Cleveland history? You've got your signature call, swinging a drive. But because this went so ultra viral, this will be one of the calls in the moments that you are known for. Like, does that sit okay with you? Obviously, you nailed it and it was fun and you talk about that all the time. But this is something that you're going to run into people, especially that are not Cleveland fans, people on different coasts that don't listen or watch Cleveland baseball. They're going to bring this up. AJ had, a great rant earlier about how Tim Anderson and really Jose Ramirez will be, will go up to fans for a long time, and this is going to be brought up. AJ's dealt with that with him in the Barrett situation. So just wanted to get your reaction to that. We're super fresh off the call, but there will always be moments that you'll go up to fans and they'll be like, Tom, that call did it for me.
It is what it is, Scott. I mean, I'm not on social media. If I had a Twitter account, I would have been fired, I don't know, probably 5 days after Twitter had been invented. And so I'm smart enough to know not to get on social media. I also know that you're also 5 minutes away from your career coming to an end because you could be on the other side of that and say something you regret and that blows up. So You can't get caught up into it. You tell your own kids that when it comes to social media, my goodness, be careful. Be careful what you're doing out there, because there are too many times people are apologizing for what they've done or what they've said or tweeted or whatever else you're doing now. So I don't get caught up in that. I'm so grateful to have this job. I was born on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. I'm not baling hay anymore. That's work. This isn't work. I've been so blessed and fortunate to have this job for such a long time. If that's what you're remembered for, that's fine. I mean, there are plenty of sleepless nights, be it in 2016 or in 97, when you're maybe not sleepless nights, but the night before Game 7 of a World Series, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say if we win this thing? And I'm not a big believer in writing things out, because about the time something happens, you're looking for whatever you wrote and you can't find it, and then you've butchered it. So you just hope you're not remembered for butchering a call. And if people like this, I'm grateful for that. But I also know, again, we're about 4.5 hours away from tonight's game. I'm 4.5 hours away from saying something I go, oh my God, what did I do? So you better realize, as Sandy Alomar said, and you players know this, baseball is a game for those that are humble and those that are about to be humbled. And you remember that every night when you step in front of that microphone.
Yeah, well, you nailed that one, Tom. It was entertaining for everyone. And thanks for coming on short notice with us. We wanted to have you on for a while, so appreciate it. And have fun with this one tonight. We'll see who's in the lineup for you in a little bit.
Okay. Thanks so much, guys. Great being
Thanks,
with you.
Sammy.
Cheers,
Thanks,
Sammy.
guys.
Appreciate you. Tom Hamilton, legendary voice of the Cleveland Guardians, with us on FT Live. That was awesome. Some people were hitting me up like, are you going to get Tim Anderson or José Ramírez on? And I was like, no, we're going to get the guy who made the call, because I've tried to get Tim on. He has not wanted to come on the show all year. And José Ramírez is not a big talker to the media in general. That's always been a thing. So he's a man. He's a pretty quiet guy. And like Tom mentioned too, he doesn't get into much. He's not a guy that gets booted from games, doesn't talk shit. He's like a pretty quiet, easygoing superstar that also has all the cheat codes in Mario Kart. Anyway, let's get into Hot Corner.
Is it Mario or Mario?
Apparently it's Mario. I know. I say Mario, whatever.
It's Mario.
Hot Corner. Yeah, Jersey accent, I guess. So Carlos Correa has had a troubling season on the field. He just hasn't played up to standards for himself, and he's the first person to say that. He's also a great interview. We talked to him. We should get him on again soon. So I want to specifically go to one quote that he used when he was asked about grounding into many double plays, and here it is. Correa, and this from Doheng Park, who covers the team, asked if there's anything he can point to as to why he's hitting into so many double plays. Quote, yeah, I'm slow as fuck.
I've been there.
Which might be the line that Giancarlo uses at some point when he's asked about it too. But yeah, I mean, he just lays it out. He's, I guess, not as fast as he used to be. He's hitting some ground balls that are turning into double plays. So I appreciate the realness, which Lance Lynn usually does too.
Yeah, I know. I love it. It's true. And I hit into a bunch of double plays, and people are like, why are you hitting so many double plays? And I wish I would have used that answer, because guess what? I mean, I'm running as hard as I can, but, these legs don't pick them up and put them down as fast as they used to, Erik. And, it happens.
It's a bad feeling. It's a bad feeling. I got a couple quick times to first base, but man, oh man. To see that Stanton has an 8 speed on the show and they put me down as a 7 speed, I know about speed. That's hurtful. And it's like, I never even had dreams where I was fast. So it wasn't like, it just happens. You know what? Put the ball in the air. You don't hit into double plays.
True. And respect.
As Adam Dunn once said so famously, felt like I was going to hit in a double play, so I just struck out. that was his quote. I love one of my all-time Adam Dunn quotes.
That's a good one.
He
That's
said,
a team player.
Huh?
One
team
out
player.
instead of 2.
Yeah, he's like, I thought I might hit into a double play, so I struck out instead. I only make 1 out instead of 2.
Yep.
That way, Dunner.
Hey, also in Hot Corner, Trea Turner had a weekend. This was really cool, and I will say unexpected. Phillies fans, especially on social, had been on his case. And then on social, they start to rally. I don't know who specifically started it, and we can
Jack
see
Fritz.
Trea as of August the 3rd. You know the name? It was one dude specifically who started this?
Jack Fritz. He is one of the whatever commentary guys on WIP. He was like, no chance. He's like, we got to get behind these guys. He was like an ex Division III baseball player. He kind of rallied the cry for it here in Philly, and it was admirable of him, and it worked.
So Friday, lineup intros, huge cheer. I think it was his second at bat that I saw. It was like a standing O. And I heard Dave Dombrowski over the weekend say on the decibel meter, he thinks it's the loudest. Now, he hasn't been there that long. The loudest it's been there since like the playoffs, World Series, really even. Like aside from that, that was the loudest you'd heard Citizens Bank Park. So they'll give it to you when you deserve it. But also, this is now like the second moment where Philly fans, in my mind, are really turning around a narrative that they're bad fans. They get on their players too much. Wait, look at Alec Boehm. That was last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Feels like a million years ago. Who, kind of mouthed after a play when he was going through some tough times that he fucking hates this place. And Philly backed him up. He spoke right after the game so well. And then here's Trea. Apparently his mom was in tears. Trea, of course, is getting a boost. He played better this weekend. And he buys billboards saying thank you. That's fucking awesome. That's how you back up your dude. You have him for a long time. He's a young player. He's in his prime years. It feels like it's mental struggles over anything physically, which is good. And he might help them win a World Series this year.
Kratz, you live around there, but Philly, dude, I'd give them I'd tip my cap to these people. Whoever came up with this idea, this means the world to Trea Turner. I mean, he signed a huge deal. You can say whatever you want. You've already got your money. Some guys try harder when you get these deals to prove that you're worth this amount. And he struggled. He doesn't lie about it. Like Correa said, he's slow as fuck. Trea's like, I haven't been good. I need to be better, right? He talked about his mom calling him and calling his mom and all that stuff. And then for the Philly fans to do this now, in the middle of August, when they're in the dog days, this means a lot. Not only to Trea, it means a lot to the rest of the team, and it means a lot to future guys that will possibly come to Philly. Because they can look back and say, man, he struggled, but guess what? These dudes got behind him. These people got behind him, and they gave him a standing ovation. And what did he do? He went out and banged this last weekend. So good on you, Philly. I tip my cap to all the people that stood up and cheered for Trea Turner, because baseball is really hard, and it is not easy, and it means the world to not only Trea, his family, and everyone inside that dugout.
If you were going through it and fans, like, let's say you were in his shoes, did that instead of booing the shit out of you, which happens, in New York all the time, and it's happened in Philly, Boston, whatever, especially in the Northeast, there's always a microscope on it. Would you play better? Would you think that you would play better if you had to project your stats?
I mean, I don't know about that, but I feel like at least someone's got your back, and the fans aren't just going to destroy you because you're playing bad. You don't need to hear it. And then, I mean, listen, if I was in Trea Turner's shoes, and I don't know if he talked about this or not, but it almost would bring you to tears because you're like, man, like this like hits you like deep, right? Like, gosh, I'm doing the best I can and I'm struggling. And man, these, 40,000 people are cheering for me. Like, oh man, like that's when you get emotional as a player is knowing that people are behind you and they've got you.
That's why he feels the pressure. That's why he feels the pressure of the if he feels the pressure of the contract. We're just assuming that. But to me, it's not a physical thing. I watch more Phillies games than probably anybody on this panel, but I'm not watching every game. But I definitely have seen him hit balls hard, and they instantly pan right to his face, and it's that face that you've been through it, and you're sitting. He just gives this one like the. He did it the other night against the Marlins, where it was a hot shot to him, and he kind of didn't back up. He kind of tried to play it off to the side in the 11th or 12th inning, ended up losing the game. And he said it. He said, I lost us the game. That's a play I make 99 out of 100 times, and I didn't make the play. He's done everything the way you want a guy that you paid $300 million to do it, because you're not just giving this guy that money because he's a good player. You're giving that to him because you think he's going to fit into your city. You think he's going to fit into your clubhouse culture. You think he's going to lead guys in the next 11 years to be the best players that they can be. And I've never heard anything bad about Trea, guys that played with him, against him. He's out there every single day. And to have the fans, not just in his second and third at-bat standing ovation, he got about 8 standing ovations, and it culminated in his home run with the radio call was tremendous. They said with about 60% of the stadium standing, he hit the ball almost into the upper deck. The Scott Braun on the call goes, he said, now all of them are standing. And he got a curtain call. Like, that is so important because in that clubhouse, his teammates have told him, we know you're good. His coaches have told him, we know you're good. His mom has told him, you know you're good. Like, he has probably been questioning it himself sometimes. Like, I can't get out of this. What can I do? And to have another group of 40,000 people every night behind you, it's awesome. Kudos to the Phillies fans.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Lance Lynn is going to join us in a couple minutes. We're just getting him set up, working on a little connection for Lance.
San Diego is a hard place to connect.
Is it?
Those tunnels are.
Oh, in the tunnels. Yeah.
In the tunnels, yeah.
Interviews in the tunnels, probably not the move. Okay. While we have a moment, we touched on it, but let's give it a little more while we can. Cora benched Alex Verdugo this weekend. Apparently, he was showing up to the game 2 hours before it starts. Supposed to show up. I mean, you guys tell me. At least, what's the minimum? 4 to 5?
Well, it depends. But, I mean, unless it's, these teams now do like the Little League days where you show up an hour or 2 hours before and they won't let you in before that. But, I mean, for me, it was like 7 o'clock game. It was like 1:30. It was like 5.5 hours.
And you're a catcher.
Yeah, we have a little bit more to do. Most guys, it was 2 to 3-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., not 2 or 3 hours before.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
right.
2 p.m. Like the buses were usually like
4 to 5
1,
hours.
2, and 3 or something like that. On the
Okay.
road.
Alex Cora on him being late. Today we took a step back as a team. We have to make sure everybody is available every single day here for us to get to wherever we've got to go. That wasn't the case. As a manager, I've got to take charge of that. I decided he wasn't going to play. Sounds like Verdugo said he wasn't late. Also, Cora benched him earlier this year for lack of hustle on the bases, according to Alex. Those two are not on the same page, and Verdugo seems like he's kind of done and wants to move on to a different team. There's been a lot on him from the jump. He hated getting the Mookie Betts trade questions. I know that for a fact. He's actually usually a pretty good interview. He'll drop some F-bombs. Like he's got some foul territory openness to him. But my main question is, there's been a problem with those two, with Alex and whether Verdugo, whether it's the manager, organization, all of the above, and he's just not been happy there. Trade his ass. He's got 1 year left. Boston, do something. Give me a fucking sign. The last 2 trade deadlines, and I can't wait because it came out during our show. Ken Rosenthal wrote an article about the Red Sox weirdness during the trade deadlines because I made fun of them for last year, and then they just did it again. I cannot wait to read that article, and I think we'll have Ken on tomorrow, but what are they doing?
They had a rough weekend.
They've lost 7 of 8. They're done.
Between this and the Reese McGuire, like what are we doing? Wait, what? It's a home where they're running around third base with their hand up, and the Kiermaier catches it not even at the fence. Like what are we doing? And Bobby Knight, quote, the ultimate leverage a coach has is bench.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What did Alex Cora do? He put Verdugo on the bench. Most managers don't have enough power and or authority, gusto, whatever you want to call it, to put guys on the bench. Remember, Matt Williams tried it with Bryce Harper, and they're like, yeah, Matt, see you later. Like, we're going to keep Bryce. We're not keeping you. So, don't ever do that again to Bryce. But if you have the power and you can do it, it's a strong, it is the strongest thing a coach can do is say, hey, you're not doing what Rays did it. Wander Franco. Remember? Hey, Wander, you're not performing to our standards. You're sitting down for a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big deal, man, especially when it gets public. Because then as a player, you're like, okay, people know about this. I'm not doing what I need to do. I need to clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
So good for Alex Cora. Sucks for Alex Verdugo because I don't know the whole situation. I don't know what was going on. He said he was on time. But, if there's a problem, you bench a guy and you make it public, that usually cleans it up.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you go the guy goes the other way and it's like, screw this place, I want out, and just gives up. But I don't think Verdugo's that kind of guy.
He's not hitting well. He's had a rough time, and they almost kind of alluded to that. It might have been Bloom, or maybe it was just an article I read. I mean, since July 1st, like $1 something, and that's not like him either. So it almost sounded like it was hard to trade him and get the value that they'd want. From a WAR perspective, he's one of the top players on the team. So anyway, to be continued on that one, but I guarantee you Verdugo probably going to be with someone else in the offseason. Someone coming on the show right now has recently switched uniforms and is probably a happy man to be involved in a playoff race. Our guy, the veteran, Lance Lynn, looking good in Dodger blue, dude. We talked to you a few days before you got traded, and you were like, yo, bags are packed. So take us through the last week. Now you end up here looking good on the mound, looking good in the uni, and you're part of a ball club that...
Whoa. Dude, the all white, Lance. You're going to have to paint your own pinstripes on there, dude, because that all white that first night, man.
It was tough, wasn't it?
It was a bad look for you. I'm sorry. I love you, but that was a bad look.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. You got the home and roads. You just got to ride it out.
How's
There's
life,
no
dude?
breaking it up with an alt uni.
Well, you get to pick on your day or no? Is that still
no? Teams like this. It's like being in St. Louis or New York. You're wearing the whites or the all white or all gray or whatever their alt is. But some places you have the alt, black or whatever, like I had in Chicago.
Hey, Julio got to wear the blue with the white pants the other day.
Yeah.
Why can't you pick that?
I've heard that that's the Los Dodgers is his uni, so I don't know if I can go in on that. So maybe I'll ask him and see if he'll let me borrow.
We have a pair of scissors otherwise that we can lend you.
Oh yeah, the old school scissor trick works, huh?
How you liking it though? Like, take us through. After we spoke to you, what happened? Like, take us through the trade process. You get a call. How did you feel about it? These were one of the teams that you mentioned that you would potentially be moving to. So what happened?
You get the call, and after that, it's go pack up the clubhouse stuff, say your goodbyes. It's always weird to get traded because you feel like you're in a rush. You got to go somewhere, but we were able to kind of get ahead of it anyways, just because we had to be out of our place in Chicago at the end of the season. So it was one of those things where we were prepared for it, that it was possibly coming, especially with the not playing well in Chicago. So that there's chances of being moved at all times. So we were ready to go. Everybody was prepared and got everything shipped out and got on a plane. And now it's just going to pitch.
Hey, Lance, how did you find out? Did they call you in the office? Did they give you a phone call? Did they get a text, a note in your locker?
No, I was actually on the way to the ballpark, and Rick gave me a call and was like, "Hey, are you here yet?" I was like, "I'll be there in 5 minutes." He's like, "Well, I'm sure that you've heard or you're about to hear, but you've been traded. I'll see you when you get here." I was like, "All right." And then talked to him, Pedro, Kenny, and the whole coaching staff when I got there. Told them I appreciated everything, and they gave me the good luck the rest of the way, and I wish everybody the best.
Who found out first, you or Joe?
I think Joe and I both knew at the same time, and it was before it was public. So we were calling each other, and he was like, "When are you going out?" And I was like, "Well, I'll probably go out after you because you're going to be active tomorrow. I don't have to be active till Tuesday."
Got it. Okay.
So what was the first thing you did once you got to LA? Significant thing, not the boring, like going and see Doc. And what was the first significant thing or person you had a beer with first?
No. We got in there. I think the number one thing is to find a place to live. I've got a wife and 4 kids coming out next week, so it was hey, you better find a house quick. And LA's not cheap, so that hurt a little bit. And but other than that, it's get in, get your feet wet, and get ready to start.
Dude, you're rich. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. Oh, LA's not cheap. Oh crap!
I am,
you're rich, bro.
LA's got a different price tag than everywhere else I've played for sure.
Mookie can let you his guest house. It's got to have 5 bedrooms in his guest house.
Or Rich Hill. Rich Hill has that house that Kike is using, right?
I know Kike took over quick
Kike's
on
back.
it. So yeah, he got first choice. So that's how it
roommates.
goes.
You guys can all room in together.
Yeah,
right.
Oh
yeah.
He's got 1. You got 4 kids.
Yeah, no one wants to deal with my 4. That's for sure.
It's not a fair fight.
No, the Lynn family likes to tag up and bully everybody, so I got to keep them away from.
They take after you. So, okay,
Yep.
On the mound, you've had 2 starts, looking great. Did something change? I mean, I know you've probably been asked this a million times already by the media out there, but you started kind of tweaking your pitch mix the last few starts with Chicago. Is it more just carrying that over here?
Yeah, I mean, you always have an idea what you're working on, what you're trying to get accomplished. The number one thing so far is I've executed, and then I've had a couple of pitches that I like back that went for home runs, but for the most part, it's been kind of go do what you've done your whole career. We're going to lock some things back in that I might have got away from throughout this year, and then sprinkle in the things that we have been working on when I was with Chicago. So it's been a little bit of both, and then just getting to know each other. Thrown to both catchers so far. It's been awesome. So it's just kind of hit the ground running, go to your strengths, and then we'll see what's working that day. And it's been good so far.
Dude, you're throwing a curveball now. You've changed. We've talked about this. You're throwing a curveball now. Like what's changed? And then did you see what Max Muncy said about you?
I didn't see what Max Muncy says, but I did. I have started sprinkling in some breakers. It just makes that mistake heater a little harder to hit. So that's what it's all about. Just sprinkle in something slow, just so you can get away with it if you make a mistake with the heater.
I like it. It also helps your team behind you scoring a ton of runs every time. But Muncy said he can't wait for your first strikeout because he can't wait to see your reaction. So I said he's got some classic reactions. So which one's your favorite?
Did he? Which one's my favorite? Or which one was his? Did he say?
Well, no, which one's your favorite? He just said he can't wait for you to yell a giant F-bomb and grab your nether regions.
I like I like when I do the Leslie Chow after striking someone out at the end of the inning. That's always the old so long. So that's one of my favorites. You can't go wrong with a good old readjustment while the ball's getting thrown around either.
So back to the pitch usage. Is there? I mean, what dictates your pitch usage when you change a team? And it's only been 2 starts, but if we break down your numbers of pitch usage, you were getting waffled by lefties with the White Sox, and you've dominated them so far. And there's a huge change in your amount of fastballs. Is that the organization, pitching coach, the fact that you guys were actually leading games you were pitching in? Is it the catcher? Like, there is a stark difference. So what really dictates that?
To be honest, everything ties in with it. And there's no other way to say it. When you have a lead, that helps. On the same page as catchers, good defense behind you, all of the above. And then just kind of we revamped a little bit of how my four seam came off and my cutter came off. So far it's been in a good spot. We just got to keep it going.
Lance, where were you when you saw or heard of the Tim Anderson, José Ramirez Brawl of the Year? And what are your thoughts? Because you just played with all those guys.
Yeah, so I was in the dugout. And then about 4 guys came out and were like, hey, you got to go see what happened in Cleveland tonight. And I was like, uh-oh. I was not, to be honest, I was not expecting that to be the thing that I went in and saw. Your first thought is, you hate to see that on a baseball field, especially, you're going to have your disagreements and stuff like that. But when it goes to throwing punches and stuff like that, that's a totally different level. So, I'm sure that they're going to get suspended a little bit. It's just one of those things where, when things go bad, they seem to keep rolling downhill. That's kind of what it looks like right now.
When you saw the play itself, and obviously we've had some people on before that, there was beef between these teams. You tell us about that. Like, how much beef was there? Because the actual play itself, like Tim, puts a hard tag on. I didn't feel like it was that hard, but José Ramirez kind of alluded to other things leading up to this, and then others have commented since. Even like Syndergaard, who joins Cleveland, says, I didn't realize there was so much shit between these two teams the last couple of years.
Yeah, there's just, you're looking at 2 teams that were fighting for the division, for the last couple of years, and there's a lot of, back and forth, whether it's, it's just part of the creating that, who's going to take over the Central. I didn't see, he said that, there's been a couple other hard tags. I didn't see those or see what they look like. So maybe it was just one of those things that was a carryover, whether it's a conversation that, they both had and neither one of them agreed with each other, and then it just keeps adding on. So that's what it looks like. It looks like it was an add up for the last couple of years of things that, as a pitcher you don't really see, but there could be nuances of tags and and different things like that, where guys just get fed up with it.
Lance, did you see what Keenan Middleton said when he got traded?
I did see what popped up yesterday. Yes.
Do you have any thoughts on that, possibly?
I could say this. I can tell you what Key was wrong about.
Okay.
We're ready.
I get it. You don't get it.
I get it. I just wanted to see if there was anything else.
Hey, Lance, he did call you out, though. He did say it was all your fault.
No, yeah, in a positive light,
yeah,
though.
because you went to the WBC.
How
And
dare
you didn't stay there and lead the boys, man. So now I'm mad at you because if you wouldn't have been so selfish and gone to play for Team USA. Yeah, it's all your fault.
Represent the country, ruin the White Sox season.
Yep. See, you never knew you'd have such an effect on my life, right?
Yep. No, I enjoy ruining your life. I just didn't enjoy ruining the season. So.
Well, yeah, but look where you ended up now. Now you're in first place.
Yeah.
You're in San Diego today. You're going out in 2-0 and just punching dudes out left and right. I mean, it's selfish. You wanted to ruin a team season so you could end up in LA with a chance to win a ring.
Well, in our half the season together, you taught me how to be selfish. So I'm just going right off of you.
True.
Exactly. See, I'm glad I rubbed off on you.
Is it your job, Lance, like big picture, to police dudes? Like our guys talked about this earlier in the show. Like how far can you go if certain scenarios pop up? And Keenan also referred to that team meeting, which I think we spoke about on the show at one point, and I think you spoke, and maybe another pitcher spoke, and he was kind of calling out that the position players weren't talking, and they've done a lot of things wrong.
I think you're looking at everyone knows that it's a culture. There's a backbone to an organization that has to be in place, and as veterans, you can police things that are obviously known, and then there's a way of doing things and like a code. And I think that's what Key was alluding to. There was no, the backbone of culture, ways to do things, ways to go things as a pro. We're just not there.
All right, you're the only one that's played with both. Who pisses more people off, TA or AJ?
You can say me. That's fine.
They got to be on the same ballpark of punches thrown on a field and stuff like that,
right? It's true. Who choked more?
Let me ask you this. That's fine. That's fair. Who had more beers with you, me or TA?
Definitely you.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. At least I got something positive out of it.
You retained the title there. Good for you.
But Lance, on that, my follow on that was going to be, how important is a guy like AJ to have in a clubhouse so you don't have issues like this?
Well, yeah. I would say even you're looking at AJ, you're looking at the. I've had people in every stop throughout my career, like the Brett Gardners of the world, that just make sure that things are just ran smoothly. Guys are doing what they need to do, be prepared to play, be good teammates, and just be a pro every day. And that's you need those guys. Where I'm at right now, you've got multiple guys like Freddie Freeman, Mookie, Jay Hay. There's I can go down the line. There's guys that just show up every day. They get the they know what they're doing. They're prepared and they're ready to win ball games.
So my thing, just for the player perspective, is how do rules and guidelines work for a team? I'm curious as a fan. AJ said on his championship White Sox teams, Ozzie Guillen had 2 rules. He said, show up on time. What was the second rule?
Be out there for the anthem.
Be out there for the anthem. See, I'm not good at following rules. I don't even remember 2. So how does that work with certain ball clubs? Like Middleton said, okay, I'm happy to join the Yanks now and shave my face and, have more discipline involved. We've had Tyler Glasnow on a couple weeks ago who said, I'll paraphrase for him. He said the Pirates were too strict and they had like a military-ish approach sometimes with what they were doing. And he wanted to go to the Rays and kind of have a little more freedom to do things his way, and felt like a lot of the guys on the Rays click because of that. So I'm just curious, what the dynamic is. What's the right mix for a team to be able to kind of police itself, but also not be too much?
Well, I'm going to say AJ, that group that he was with in 05, how many guys had 10 years and have been around the game for a long time, probably quite a bit from what I remember. So that's kind of the gist of it. I think that there's a way to promote winning culture and winning baseball, and you got to find whatever you need to do, whether it's coming up through the minor leagues, through the minor league system, and things like that, to find out how you're going to do things. And then when you get to big leagues, you're prepared, you're ready to play, and you're ready to be a major leaguer. And I think that's the main thing moving forward for any organization is you got to teach guys how to be good teammates and how to play winning baseball.
So you're saying Cardinals way? You're just all Cardinals way. You can't get over the Cardinals. You're like,
I'm
Cardinals.
I saw it. I saw it in Minnesota. I saw it in New York. I saw it in Texas.
Wait, you forgot a team.
Which one?
LA.
No, them too.
Well, I mean, I've been here. I've been here for a week, and all of their 22 to 25-year-olds are ready to play.
You wait. You don't have certain people with their cousins in the clubhouse?
No, I haven't seen anything crazy yet.
What's the attitude there? Okay, so again, you've been on a lot of teams. I played for a lot of teams. What's the difference in the attitude? And obviously, the expectations for a Dodger is not only get to the postseason, make a deep run. So how does that affect you as a player when you walk into a place and you have Freeman and Betts, and they're like, "Hey, dude, Kershaw, hey, we expect to win, and not only win the division, but win the whole damn thing."
Yeah, that's refreshing. You walk into a clubhouse and you're expected to win what's expected of you, and then you know that, hey, I got to do my job, I got to prepare, and I got to be ready for when it's my time to help the team. So it's a refreshing feeling to know, hey, what's expected of me, what I'm trying to accomplish, not only personally but as a team, and then you can go out there and perform. And you know people have your back.
Hey, Lance, people say that the Dodgers are one of those ball clubs that doesn't just obviously spend on players and back their team and player development, but even when the players are on the bigs, like they'll get, whatever, the tablets, extra tech, whatever it is. Have you seen any of that yet? Like, do you get a care package when you join the team that's different from prior teams?
I haven't seen it yet. Maybe I'm getting like that, the new guy hazing, where I just don't quite get all the new stuff yet, but no, they've been really good at giving me all the information that I need and ask for, and show me some of their stuff too, and how they go about, whether it's preparing for games or getting things of that nature going forward, scouting reports and stuff like that. So, every team's different, obviously, and this, just kind of finding the way that they do things and kind of using the stuff that I like too, and able to work together. It's been good.
Who's been the most helpful? Who's the person that you leaned on in coaches or players since you've gotten there?
Yeah, heck, that's crazy. I remember being in Indianapolis growing up and watching Mark Pryor pitch for the Cubs, because that was the only game ever on TV when you got home from school. So it's been fun actually just getting to talk to him, getting to know him. And then, Connor, the assistant pitching coach and all that, we've hit the ground running here, and it's been good. The good thing is I've got a lot of ties for people in the past and stuff like that, where I know a lot of people here, so I'm able to kind of just jump right in and not have any issues because of lack of knowing people.
Last one from me. You beat Rich Hill. Did you look over like, old man, I know you like to give shit to Waino. Hill's older than Waino, right?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, he's the oldest.
Rich Hill and I were AAA teammates in like 2010. So,
wow.
Yeah, we go back to the Memphis Redbird days. It's somebody was trying to say that it was the oldest pitching matchup of all time, but I was like, no, that can't be possible. Jamie Moyer threw a game at like 50, right? So there's no one that's ever beat that.
Yeah, there's no way.
Dude, Rich Hill started the Michael Barrett fight game with me.
That is insane.
That was in 2006.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So when you had him in AAA, that was already like one of his resurrections, right?
Yeah.
That was after Chicago, before he had his resurrection, before he even went to Boston and started throwing sidearm. So that was when he was still doing the 12-6 over the top curveball stuff. That was it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lance, enjoy, man. Looking good in the Dodger
Hey,
blue
by the
jersey.
way, when I text you before you start, let's fucking go. You better respond from now on, or else I'm flying my ass out there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I figured I won the game, so every time you text me now, I'm just going to ignore it.
Yes. Let's go. Let's go. Stay strong. Yeah, only talk to him here.
Now he's got to ignore it.
Every 2-3 weeks, we'll get you. Lance, thanks, dude. Have fun out there, all right? And get a nice, cozy home in the valley.
Beverly Hills, Bel Air.
Yeah, we might as well. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it big.
Yeah, do it big, dude. All right, we'll see you soon, all right?
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Cheers. Appreciate you, Lance. Awesome. Yeah, and some of our fans in the chat, props to Lance. We just had him on about a week ago, pre-trade, and then wanted to make sure we got him in that Dodger blue pretty quickly. So that was cool.
He's the best.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He can roll with the punches pretty good.
Oh, yeah. That's why we have a show like this, to do interviews like that. Just throwing it out there. Do you have your shades?
Do I? I mean, come on.
In person?
Do I?
We'll give you our picks. We'll do a few fan questions and all that at the end for slap hands.
Does Kratz even have any?
Let me talk to my agent. He does.
Oh, I do. And I have to talk to Shady Rays because they have that great return policy.
Mm-hmm.
Stolen, lost, broken. My kids stole my Shady Rays, so I got to make sure I get those back.
That's the protection. That is the protection plan. And I can tell everyone about it. So in addition to that, you might get a pair that you don't love or doesn't look as good on you. And Shady Rays goes, cool, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. Are we good with this pair? I'm good with it as long as you take the tag off.
Well,
It's time.
I didn't want to take it off because if I lose them or so you steal.
No,
them.
either way, you can.
Okay.
Either way, the protection is provided there. So there you go. Looks better. Rip the tag off. But just want to let everyone know, lost and broken replacement is there for you. It's no questions asked. We don't need the excuse story or what happened. They get the job done and handle it. Okay. So we're giving out their best deal of the season too for everyone in the Shady Rays world. So if you like what you see, or you're like, AJ looks okay, I would look much better in those, go for it. ShadyRays.com and use the code FOUL for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. FOUL, all caps, for the Shady Rays fam. Okay, so we didn't get to go over our picks from earlier, so let's take a little peek at this evening's games, and we're going to do our Bet MGM Monday locks. Okay, we also have, guess what the free game of the day is?
Yankees White Sox.
Hell yeah, baby. If you're living somewhere where you don't want to pay $1 jillion to MLB and you just want to watch White Sox Yankees and see if there's any beef with Middleton when he's on the mound, the MLB free game of the day is streaming on the BetMGM app tonight, available to all BetMGM customers who are logged in and have funded accounts. Get after it. And let's get over to our BetMGM locks. We'll run through it. Friday sucked.
You guys suck.
We sucked. We take it. We sucked. And actually, for me, that was Milwaukee run line, but either way, they lost to Pittsburgh. Money bags were still great. You actually have to pick it up a little bit again.
How am I only up 100? I mean, when I win, I lose money.
Remember the one? No, but the one that you did right before your break. You said you went a little harder on that last one right before the break, right before your break.
My 1-day break I had?
Was it a 1-day break or a 2-day break?
I had Thursday off. Sorry,
I don't remember. Everything's stringing together.
Are out of my control.
I don't even know what city I'm in.
I feel like that's not right.
All right,
whatever,
so pick it up. First, we'll review it. We always do. If you have an issue,
have a great. I'll have to go back.
You've got the most complicated one, so go for it.
Well, I'm going the free game of the day on BetMGM.
Okay.
Just because, and besides that, I want to see what happens if Middleton gets in and some dude goes deep and they shoot off the fireworks and all that. But I'm going Yankees money line parlay with Cease 6 punchies and Garrett Cole 6 punchies plus 180. So 100 to win 180.
Okay. I'll stay on that game. I'll go after you.
You're cheating off me?
I'm going Yankees money line. I put my pick in before you.
Oh.
If you check our little chat that we do in the mornings. And I mean, you're going a little harder than I am. You're going with Cease as well. I think the Yanks. Dylan has great stuff. He's not had a great year with walks and homers and all that.
He still punches dudes out.
He does punch dudes out. So I'm just taking Cole at 6+ Ks and the Yanks money line. So I just took a step off there at -110. I need to get a dub. This is probably my coldest stretch of the year. So just throwing that out there. Kratzy?
I love it. I love that you guys keep picking the Yanks. Keep pushing down. This is monumental. AJ is going to win today, no matter what. It's a Yankees win. He wins his money. White Sox win. I'm going Lugo, 4 Ks. Gonsolin, 3 Ks. Lugo's struck out 4 or more in 14 of his 16 starts. And Gonsolin, 16 of his 18 starts. So that's at minus 130. I'm putting 390 out to win $300.
Boom. There you go. And right now it's Bet MGM swing for the fences. If you log into the app, play the game for free. Be a batter, pick an area of the strike zone, and depending on the area you pick, whatever the result is, like double, homer, pop out, you get the prize associated with that type of hit. You can play once a day. Prizing must be used on MLB and expires in 24 hours. I told everyone maybe one question I'll pick from the chat, and then also a couple other things that we have to go over. So let's spend a few minutes on slap hands. Hit the button. There it is. Button was a little rusty. I haven't been here for like a week. I don't know. I'm going to do a call out first because I don't want to forget it.
A call out?
Yeah.
You're calling somebody out?
Yeah, positively.
Oh, okay, good.
Davis Schneider. No relation to his manager, but he's a better hitter. Instant legend this weekend. Bashed one out of the ballpark yesterday. And then, I don't remember who it was, but throwing 36 miles an hour because I was watching a million games at once. But got a knock on that. I mean, no matter what, it could be 99, 36. He's got the look, too. The specs, the stash. So 9 hits in his first 3 games and 2 homers for the Blue Jays.
This
Might be
game's
what the
easy
doctor
for him.
ordered. Yeah.
This game's easy for him. He's like, why was I in AAA this long?
He was using a glove. Some people were like, that glove looks so old. Apparently it's a glove from like wherever he worked, maybe at like a baseball facility or something. They're lost and found. He's wearing that on the field.
Good for him.
That's awesome. And also now you're in the bigs. Jay's staff, get him some fucking gear.
It said Vuk on it. I wonder if it was like Vukovic's.
It did. It said Vuk. So props to Davis Schneider. What a damn weekend for him to make his debut. And the first homer he hit, which was what, Friday, was first pitch, I believe, of the at-bat. Or second pitch?
Yeah.
It's early in the
First
AB.
pitch.
And I was like, holy shit.
First pitch.
Let's go, baby.
Why are we
And
showing this? Why we got to show this?
why not? That Angel Hernandez missed 23 calls in the Yankees-Astros game. Was that like a tribute to Jordan?
Was anybody,
Surprised?
Anybody what?
yeah.
Anybody
Kratz
surprised?
Kratz said
No.
it.
But you still have to call it out. Like this is a Major League Baseball game. These are players' lives. There's money on the line. There's a lot going on.
Mhm.
We can do better.
Not even just players' lives and like money on the line. It's the top league in the world by far. Why can't everybody be held to that standard? I'm not saying like you just randomly go down and send people down, but I know if David Schneider went 0 for 11 and not 9 for 11, they would be sending his mustache back down to the minor leagues. But he's 9 for 11. So you know what? Hey, we're going to keep throwing him out there. See what he does. Angel, if you go 23 for 123 missed calls, we're going to put you on notice. Like if you keep doing this, the bottom 10 get relegated to AAA.
There's no accountability on that front. It sucks. It's been like this for a long time. Stay hot, Kratz. What are you wearing?
This is old school, way back in the day, because my guy Brian Schneider went in there, or John Schneider, not Brian Schneider. John Schneider was an Auburn Doubleday. Team's not even in existence anymore. It's like part of the developmental league or whatever for college kids. Best team ever in the minor leagues for a short season.
Boom, there you go. And a happy birthday shout out to Mike Trout, Tommy Canley, one of the regular guests we have on FT. And I'll give you the one question, too, that I'll pick out here. Dr. Hitskins, have you seen Rodon pitch? What do you think his problem is?
His hamstring.
He's hurt.
His hamstring.
He's injured.
He is injured, and he hurt his hamstring. Came out of the game.
Yeah, they said they're doing testing over the next day. Probably going to go on the shelf. No? Probably going to go on the IL?
Probably think. They're not going to let him run out there throwing what he was throwing yesterday.
Yeah. That's the thing, too, right? You sign a big-ass contract. He's been injury-prone. He's probably hurt. trying to get on the damn field. He knows he's feeling it. And can't pitch well. Some can, but you can't pitch well if you're really hurt. No?
No, I agree.
Not necessarily, at least.
I agree.
New Dodger. We have a lot of Dodgers joining us lately. Dodger fans are
That's because
strong
guys
FT
keep
fans.
getting traded to the Dodgers.
That's true. Ryan Yarborough will join us tomorrow. We'll get Brent Rooker, who's had a great year for the Oakland A's. Ken Rosenthal will give us more on that story about the Red Sox being weird with trades and a lot more from Kenny Ballgame.
Can we
What
get Joe
a day.
Kelly one time? Because he's a fun
Yeah,
guy, too.
we can ask for Joe Kelly. I want to get Jesse Rogers this week on his story with Middleton. Good luck tonight, Keenan. We'll be watching.